Helsinki, Finland. The White House is rejecting the idea of canceling the summit after Friday's indictment of 12 Russian intelligence officers. Today, U.S. Ambassador to Russia, John Huntsman, defended engaging with Vladimir Putin.
But what it will be is the first opportunity for these presidents to actually sit down across the table, alone and then with their teams, to talk about everything from meddling in the election to areas where we have some shared interests. You got to remember, Chuck, that Russia is a country of 11 time zones. It touches Asia, it touches the Middle East, it touches Western Europe. And it's inconceivable that we can solve some of the international issues without engaging Russia at some level.
Congressman Denny Heck joins me now. He is a Democrat from Washington and a member of the House Intelligence Committee. Congressman, thanks for being with us. What about John Huntsman's point that Russia is obviously a major player in the world in politics, and it's essential to engage them at some level if you want to get international issues resolved and, frankly, just for world security?
So I'll answer that question, Anderson, but first I want to stipulate that it is a colossally bad idea for the president within 72 hours of the issue of the indictments to sit down with Putin and to, in effect, reward him thusly. But look, he's going to do it. So yeah, I think you ought to engage him. And if he were to call me and ask me, which he's not going to do, what should I say to Vladimir Putin? I'd tell him this. Here's what you should say to him. Mr. Putin, we have the goods on you. You interfered in our election. You struck a blow at the heart of democracy, which is the rule of law and the conduct of free, fair, and open elections, and it will not be tolerated. Number two, we demand that you extradite the 12 officers. They're uniformed officers of the intelligence service. If you have any prayer of anybody believing you're not the ringmaster, which I think you are, then turn them over to us. Number three, I'm going to walk out of this meeting and I'm going to announce to the world that I'm upping the sanctions. We're going broader and deeper on your oligarch friends. We're going to hit you where it hurts in your pocketbook, because let me say it again, we will not tolerate, Democrats, Republicans, liberals, and conservatives, we will not tolerate your interference in American elections, in American democracy, or all Western democracies. If he pursues that form of engagement, I'm all for it, Anderson.
I don't think you're going to be holding your breath, though. I mean, every public statement that this president has made has not echoed really any of those things. I mean, even the fact that it's unlikely that Vladimir Putin would either admit the Russian meddling in the election or certainly agree to extradite Russian intelligence officers. Would it really be wise for the president to kind of lay down the gauntlet on that? Not that he shows any indication that he's likely to do that. If you know they're not going to do it, doesn't it sort of set you up to look like you've called him on something and then he says no and then you have no recourse?
Absolutely, it makes sense. This cannot be tolerated, Anderson, period, full stop. There are only one of two things that has been happening here. Either Putin has simply outsmarted the president at every turn, which is highly conceivable, or the president has in effect been complicit or his puppet, because, as was suggested earlier, Putin's gotten something on the president. I don't know what that is or if that's the case, but those are the only two possible explanations for the president's inexplicable attitude, behavior, and opinion to call Russian interference for the better part of a year all a hoax, which it clearly is not.
What he seems, at least in the most recent interview, to have done is really, rather than blame Russia, is to blame the DNC for the hack, because they saying they should have defended themselves better.
Yeah. If the Russians had wanted to exfiltrate information from the Republicans, they would have. But, Anderson, I'm going to remind you, this is the same president who denied that there was any Russian interference for the better part of a year. He continues to deny any collusion, even though collusion is hiding in plain sight. He now is asserting that the Obama administration is guilty here, when in fact the Obama administration launched the investigation in July of 2016, which he disapproved of. So his statements of late are met with a lack of credibility.
The National Intelligence Director, Dan Coats, he's warning that alarm bells are ringing over Russia and its election meddling. Knowing this, I'm wondering what Congress is prepared to do to step up the defense of the U.S. elections.
So Congress has already done a couple of things. First of all, we upped the sanction authority that the president has, which he has to date refused to fully implement. And the Congress also approved, as I recall, $380 million for state elections officials and local election officials to harden their IT systems and make sure that that the Russians are not going to be successful. Let's be very clear, Anderson. about the new territory we crossed over into with these latest indictments. The first, of course, I've already referred to. Uniformed personnel of the Russian intelligence service. We have the goods on them. It's inconceivable that Putin was not only aware of it, but was frankly the ringmaster behind it. But secondly, and very, very disturbingly, they not only infiltrated a state voter registration database, but they also exfiltrated information from it. This is very, very serious stuff. The only more serious step they could have taken was to actually have manipulated the election tally and outcome, which we don't think they did. But they are only a half a step away from doing that as they continue their disinformation campaign in America, not only in America, but in other Western democracies.
Yeah, frightening. Congressman Heck, I appreciate your time. Thanks very much. A lot to look for in the coming day. CNN special coverage of the upcoming Trump-Putin summit continues in just a moment. There's a lot of news happening back in the U.S. For that, I also want to go over right now to Martin Savage. Martin?
Thanks very much, Ed.